visarga paurusha smritaha. Okay. Very good. So, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Bhuta, the five gross elements, the sky, etc. Matra, objects perceived by the senses. Indriya, the senses. Dhyam, of the mind. Janma, creation. Sarga, manifestation. Udayaḥ is called the creation. Brahmana, of Brahma, the first Purusha. Guna Vaishamyat, by interaction of the three modes of nature. Visarga, recreation. Paurusha, resultant activities. Smritaha, it is so known. Okay. Translation. The elementary creation of 16 items of matter, namely the 5 elements: fire, water, land, air, and sky, sound, form, taste, smell, touch, and the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and mind, is known as sarga, whereas subsequent resultant interactions of the modes of material nature is called visarga. Purport. In order to explain the 10 divisional symptoms of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there are 7 continuous verses. The first of these under reference pertains to the 16 elementary manifestations of earth, water, etc., with material ego composed of material intelligence and mind. The subsequent creation is a result of the reactions of the above mentioned 16 energies of the first Purusha, the Mahavishnu incarnation of Govinda, as later explained by Brahma in his treatise Brahma Samhita as follows. Yah karanava jalabhajati sma yoga nidram ananta jagadanda saroma kubha adhara shakti madlambya param swamurtim govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The first Purusha incarnation of Govinda, Lord Krishna, known as the Mahavishnu, goes into Yoga Nidra, mystic sleep, and the innumerable universes are situated in potency in each and every hair hole of his transcendental body. As mentioned in the previous verse, Shrutena, or the reference to the Vedic conclusions, the creation is made possible from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, directly by manifestation of his particular energies. Without such a Vedic reference, the creation appears to be a product of material nature. This conclusion comes from a poor fund of knowledge. From Vedic reference, it is concluded that the origin of all energies, namely internal, external, and marginal, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as explained herein before, the illusory conclusion is that creation is made by the inert material nature. The Vedic conclusion is transcendental light, whereas the non-Vedic conclusion is material darkness. The internal potency of the Supreme Lord is identical with the Supreme Lord, and the external potency is enlivened in the contact with the internal potency. The parts and parcels of the internal potency which react in contact with the external potency are called the marginal potency or the living entities. Thus, the original creation is directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead or Parabrahman, and the secondary creation as a reactionary result of the original ingredients is made by Brahma. Thus, the activities of the whole universe are started. So, text 1, I will read, text 1 and 2. So, Śrī Śukadeva atra sargo visargaś sthānaṁ poṣaṇam ūtayaḥ manvantareśānukathā nirodho muktir āśrayaḥ. Translation. Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there are 10 divisions of statements regarding the following: the creation of the universe, subcreation, planetary systems, protection by the Lord, the creative impetus, the change of Manus, the signs of God, returning home, back to Godhead, liberation, and the summum bonum. Text number 2. So, text 2. Dasamasya vishuddhyartham navanam iha lakshanam varnayanti mahatmanaha shutenarthena chanjasa. To isolate the transcendence of the summum bonum, the symptoms of the rest are described sometimes by the Vedic inference, sometimes by direct explanation, and sometimes by summary explanations given by the great sages. Prayers?
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Madhava Radha Radhe Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Nam Sankirtan ki jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol
Nama Shrishtam Anumapi Shachiputram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupurim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girimaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Krishna consciousness is never boring, never stale. You have to be ready for everything. And should have always your cell phone on. Otherwise you don't get the news. This is the lesson I got today. So we have read already all the everything, sang Hare Krishna. Thank you, Rasuma Nityananda Prabhu. We are starting a new chapter, 10th chapter, the final chapter of the second canto, entitled Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Yesterday we had a magnificent festival of Śrī Radhāśtami. I guess this is today. There's a consequence of this changing the darshan timings. Oh, it's appearance day. Yeah, right. It's the spiritual world. It's Mayapur. So we have a grand deity worship. Yesterday we saw. I mean, we see every day. It's like festival, but today is like Maha festival. Yesterday, so beautiful. So much ecstasy. So now we are back to normal, so-called, but we are not. We are also every day we have a festival. We study the Bhagavatam. I mean, there's other things also we do in the beautiful morning program, or that was established by Srila Prabhupada. So I was thinking of the verse of the gopis, which beautifully connects Srimati Radharani, the gopis, and the Bhagavatam. It's from the Bhagavatam. Tava katam ritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalmashapaham Shravana mangalam Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam bhuvi grinanti bhurida jana. So the gopis, they are in a different category from us. They somewhere else. We come, to the temple, we pray to Shri Radha Madhava, we see the gopis, we see the spiritual world, we see Panchatattva, another side of the spiritual world, Navadvip. We are situated in Navadvip, but we may not be aware of that always. Sometimes we are, most of us, when we make a special endeavor. But we are not forgotten. Although we would rightly be so, it's our own desire to be in the material world. But Krishna comes with his, what not, his holy name. He gives the Bhagavatam, his abode, Navadvip Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Puri Dham, and others, and other holy places. And tries to lift us up. So here specifically, Tava Katamritam, the nectar of your katha, referring to Krishna's katha, conversations about Krishna, descriptions about Krishna, pastimes of Krishna, they are meant for tapta jivanam, for those of us who are tormented in this material world. They're the life and soul of those suffering in the material world. We are dead, actually. Without Krishna and Krishna's pastimes, we are dead. As good as dead. This is like zombies. It seems that we are living, we are moving, but there's no life. No real life. These narrations transmitted by learned sages eradicate one's sinful reactions and bestow good fortune upon whoever hears them. Shravana Mangalam, that's auspicious. And Kalma Shapaham, they eradicate all the sins that we may have. And Kavibiriritam, they are transmitted by learned sages. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, these narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Bhuvi Girinantiye Bhuri Dājanaha, certainly those who spread the message of God are most magnificent. So, yes, so this is the life-giving Shastra, Srimad-Bhāgavatam. And here, it seems that we are at a very philosophical part. You know, there's 10 topics of the Bhagavatam, and the whole of the Bhagavatam can be analyzed in reference to the 10 topics. So, okay, we hear this, which topic is that, and so on and so forth. It's very good for intelligence. We engage our intelligence for that. In that. But as mentioned, here all the 9, there are 10 topics, but there's one main topic, āśrayaḥ. āśrayaḥ is the support or the asylum for everyone. It's and all the other 9 topics, they are spoken in reference to āśrayaḥ, to the Supreme Lord. The sarga, visargaḥ, that are the starting topics, they are not disconnected with the Lord. That's how the religions which are not so developed as is Krishna consciousness, they may see the world. There's God, I have my church, I pray, I go to church on Sundays, if I'm a good, whatever, Christian, or other religions, they go to their places of worship on different days. And I live my life, normal life, materialistic life more or less, but I also believe in God. Krishna consciousness is different. Krishna consciousness means complete absorption in Krishna, always, all the time. Even when something is seemingly not connected to the Lord, actually it is connected. And the one who, Krishna conscious person, sees everything connected to the Lord. And the topics of the Bhagavatam help us in that meditation and that consciousness. So, so we do not, the Krishna consciousness which we are cultivating and hoping to cultivate fully, to the full extent, so that we may really always see Krishna everywhere, is not disconnected with the daily life of each and every one of us. Everything is connected. That's the point, that's the meaning of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So, it's not, this is not just our belief. This is a real life, hard life. You have to go to school and then get a job and then work and somehow, maintain yourself, or that's the minimum, or if you want to excel, you have to earn more money to be more prestigious, to get better education, so you get promoted higher, so and you are someone in this world. That's what it is. And then I am also Krishna conscious. On top of it, cherry top, right? But actually, what we are doing is actually putting more faith in the material life. And Krishna consciousness is there just like a safe belt, just in case. Yeah, just in case. Was that Pascal, was the French mathematician, he said, why it's better to believe in God? See, we don't know. I mean, how we don't see God, right? We cannot touch him, seemingly. We can, but maybe not at this stage. So he might be there, or he might not be there. It's like 50-50, who knows? But if there's no God, there's no consequence, right? It's okay. You do whatever you like. Nobody will punish you or reward you or anything. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you like, whatever you feel, do it. Express yourself. Or if there's God, there are some religions there, I hear, and they have some rules, and they say you're good if you follow this, and you're not good if you don't follow. So it's 50-50, but the consequences of being an atheist are like insignificant. It just doesn't matter. But if there's God, it's good to be a theist. So better believe in God. So we may have this approach. Actually, this is the approach of the pious people. Yes, there's Krishna there, but I have to live my real life. Not knowing that the real life is also all the fruits, whatever we are given, paurusham, all the abilities that we have in man, they're given by the Lord. Everything is from the Lord. Everything, no, it's me. It's me. But it's a piety which we don't see, which we accrued in the lives before this life. That most of the people do not know. They just think it's this life and that's it. So yeah, everything is so. The nine topics help us to understand Krishna. So then that we are equipped in this world when we see how this world came about. The prominent theory, which is the kind of a religion right now, it came about just like that. And there's different options. There's different theories. Like I hear more than 2,000. Yeah, because Kavi should have a little different idea than the other one, but in essence it's one. It's interaction of matter, somehow or other it came about, and then from matter the life came. And here we are, figuring out everything what happened before. The Christianity has, right in the beginning, the Bible, it has Genesis, that's how it's called, the first book of the Old Testament. And it speaks about how the world came about. Forgot the details, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 days, and it was created. And then recently, let's say in the previous, and that is under attack of atheists. What is this nonsense? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 days. How it all, and we see that. The Christianity officially gave up on that, like maybe in the previous century, made a compromise with the creation, with the theory of just evolution. It's not. Evolution is started by the Lord and then it goes on. So the Lord is there, but it's not exactly what is in the Bible. So that is compromise. It's a compromise. And I guess, but because it's not really so much, it's a short description, so you may say, okay, we'll sacrifice that, but God is still there, you know, God is still there. But then bit by bit, you undermine actually the how you call what is this? The basis of the philosophy, of theist philosophy. No. And we have the sarga, visargaḥ, described in the Bhagavatam as it's quite elaborate. It's quite elaborate. And it makes sense also. It makes sense and describes it's a cyclic thing. It's not that it came about, no, now we are going through sthiti, now the maintenance is going on of the material world, but then will be nirodha. Everything will be again annihilated. To be annihilated forever? No. Come about again. Cyclic. This is a different conception, complete different conception. But the point is not that we are just now analyzing the creation and then, okay, this is the creation. No, it's connected to the whole philosophy of life. What's the meaning of creation? This is the second canto is describing that in a big way. You see, the Brahma wanted to create as a secondary creator. He found himself in one Brahmanda, in the one that we are in. There are innumerable Brahmandas. He found himself there. It was created directly by Garbhodakashai Vishnu. It's his son, actually. And he knew that his duty, his task is to create, but he didn't know what and how and where. So he went for meditation. Tapa, that was suggested to him by the Lord, and he is so smart, he understood. And he did it as a devotional service. This was not to gain. Usually the demons, they are also fond of tapasya, because everyone who has some power, they did something in the past or in the recent past or in the previous lives. This is not just like that. You cannot just do nothing special and then become something special. This doesn't happen. You have to do something. That also is valid for devotional service. We have to be serious. Then even maybe it may be difficult because of the previous conditioning, but with time, all the sadhana, all the devotional tapasya, it will have some good result, definitely. That we are quite sure from the Bhagavatam. We see the example of Lord Brahma. Okay, so we're discussing the creation. So what was my point? What was I speaking? That Brahma is, yeah, he did it out of devotional service. But yeah, so it's about creation. So we'd expect in the questions, the question of Maharaj Parikshit in the beginning of the 4th chapter in the 2nd canto. This canto was about this material manifestation, about creation and so on. So in reply to that, Śukadeva Gosvāmī narrated he referred to the conversation with Brahma and Narada. He said similar questions were asked by Narada. And now all this is unfolding at this point. It's very intricate how the Bhagavatam is. The Bhagavatam is not going, let's say, sarga, visarga, and so on. It starts at some point, it establishes the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then I would say meanders around the topics, and it reminds us of you should surrender to the Lord, hear about the Lord, and by going here and there, it describes so many topics. It's just unbelievable, and everything is connected. It has so much sense. But we are reading the Bhagavatam, and then when we wanted to make sense of the Bhagavatam, so how this all goes about, it's difficult because it's so intricate. It requires quite some intelligence to understand. We know from going from point A to point B, from B to C, but how it is all came about, it's quite mind, intelligence absorbing when we try to think how all this is going on. So, but we can make, there's so much, the Bhagavatam is so deep. Prabhupada used to say, Vidya Bhagavata Avadhi, that the Vidya, knowledge, the limit of knowledge is the Bhagavatam. There's nothing more. If you want to know, if you really want to know what's going on in this world, if you want to have knowledge, read the Bhagavatam. Be absorbed in the Bhagavatam. There's so much there. We may read it once, twice. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's so absorbing, and when it's giving us so much food for intelligence, so that we really can get absorbed in the Lord. So, coming back to Shukadeva, answering to Parikshit, to the questions he had about the material world, and then he referred to Brahma, speaking to Narada. And that goes on, it's from the 5th chapter to, I think, to 7th. It's the Bhagavatam. Brahma says at the end, this is the Bhagavatam. It's the Bhagavatam within the Bhagavatam. It's let's say, he speaks, of course, about the creation. That was the initial question, but everything else also. About the Lord, about the avatars of the Lord, about Krishna. If you see by topics, it's mostly about Krishna. You see how much percentage is there. Krishna, because Krishna is the supreme, after all. So everything is connected with Krishna, but still we'll speak directly about Krishna more. That's also the system it's the bigger Bhagavatam, 18,000 verses Bhagavatam. Krishna is the topic of the 10th canto, fully. And that's the biggest canto. It's 90 cantos, and I have so many shlokas. So this is the Bhagavatam. At the end of the Bhagavatam, this shorter Bhagavatam, or expanded, depending. So we have the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. We just came from the Chatushloki Bhagavatam to this point. So, so at the end of the Brahma, he instructs Narada, expand on this, and we are, by the acharyas, we are told that the rest of the Bhagavatam is the expansion. We see also how Narada is speaking whenever he's the speaker, and also yes, how this Chatushloki Bhagavatam came about. It's when after Brahma, after Śrī Gosvāmī finishes with what Brahma spoke, stops quoting him, then Parikshit again asks more questions. Like there's maybe 10, 15 shlokas about it. And then Śukadeva Gosvāmī says, now I'll explain again he says, I will explain the Bhagavatam to you. And this was first narrated by the Supreme Lord to Lord Brahma. And the whole instance of that is spoken about in the 9th canto. This devotional tapasya of Lord Brahma. And then the success of that, and he saw the Lord, the spiritual world, and as a topmost benediction that the Lord gave to Lord Brahma is the Bhagavat, is shaking hands or touching his hands, meaning acknowledging his devotee who loves him and he loves his devotee. Is the Bhagavatam, Chatushloki Bhagavatam. And then the immediate task was served, because Adikavi Brahma understood. The Chatushloki is very cryptic. We saw, it's cryptic, but there's large purpose by the acharyas, and Prabhupada also. Yeah. He quotes from the acharyas, he adds his own points, and it's something for the mind, for the intelligence to get absorbed in. But the point is, it points to Krishna. We should serve Krishna. That's always this kind of a simple point. But if you just speak like that, you should serve Krishna, maybe it's not enough. Because people are not that simple. Why? What's the reason? So the reasons are given in the Bhagavatam. When we really understand who is Krishna, what is our connection to Krishna, who are we in comparison to Krishna, there's no other sane conclusion than to serve Krishna. That's what it is. That's why there's so much description. And also because devotees, the acharyas, munis, they're inspired by Lord Krishna. We don't just say, God is great, serve him. That is maybe the sutra. But when you are really serving the Lord, when you are purified, when you feel Krishna consciousness, you are inspired to speak about Krishna. You want to do that, it's natural. You have to speak something. Otherwise we speak, what was there, I don't know. And that, what is that called? You pay for it, TV, now it's quite popular. Netflix, yeah. So what was the latest series? I'm out of touch already. Anyway, it's good for some things to be out of touch. So, this is a new thing, I think, relatively, a few years now. So, yeah, better to be absorbed. How is Krishna? What is he doing? What is his devotees doing? And what is his abode? There's so much. It's like can completely fill our life. We don't need mundane topics at all, just to manage life. But seeing that in connection to the Lord. So immediate purpose was served. Lord Brahma understood what he has to do, and he, in his meditations, he understood everything and created whatever he had to create. And then it's described, this is very interesting, that he says, and then he was, completely, he was, let me just better to read. So after he created the visarga, secondary creation. Thus, once upon a time, that's text 40, the forefather of living entities and the father of religiousness, Lord Brahma, situated himself in acts of regulative principles, desiring self-interest for the welfare of all activities, for all entities. So he desired welfare. How? What did he want to do? Narad Muni, the best of his sons, of his 10 sons, understood. That's described. He's the best of his sons. He understood. So he asked questions. And now this asks questions about he wanted to know all about the energies of Vishnu, the master of all energies. For Narada was the greatest of all sages and greatest of all devotees. And that gave Lord Brahma the chance to speak the Bhagavatam. And that's the Bhagavatam which was already quoted by Śukadeva Gosvāmī. See, it goes cyclic. I mean, it's meandering around. It's not, it's the seed Bhagavatam, 4 shloki Bhagavatam. That should be at the beginning, right? I mean, if you're doing something linear, straightforward. But no, that's not the way that Bhagavatam does with things. It's, this is much more mysterious, much more mind entangling and absorbing, and makes us wonder. I mean, this, wow, amazing how the science of Krishna came about. It's eternal, but it appears in this world through different incidents, different occasions, all very absorbing. Yeah, so, and he says this Bhagavatam has 10 topics that he spoke here. That's still at the end of the 9th canto, 9th chapter. And then, now we are starting the 10 topics of the Bhagavatam. Now he will describe them. So this is in short class today. It's 8 o'clock and the darshan starts. Is it? We allowed any questions? If anybody has, you can ask. Otherwise, we can disperse. Thank you very much. Grantarat Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.